what is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I am your host, Steve V. This is episode 599, alongside Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful. So lovely to see your face this evening, darling.
Yes, exactly. Well, I mentioned it that it's episode 599, but next Tuesday is our one and only 600th episode of Tags Podcast. 600 episodes. That's really good. 2 shows a week that we now do. Tags Podcast, Tags Live, one pre-recorded, one live, and we're just really excited about it. And how are we going to celebrate 600 episodes? Well, much of it is already completed, and we want you to look forward to, as I have done individual interviews with each and every one of the hosts. So from Kodi to Jeremy to Lincoln to Teddy, each and every one of them gets their own special conversation, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We want you to check it out. It drops next Tuesday, episode 600. And I had a lot of fun with this. And I know we did our interview earlier today, and yeah, kind of fun, right?
It was fun. I had a great time. I loved the interview by you. It was really some of these questions I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. And I got a nice costume change in. So if you listen to the episode, you will notice that I am not wearing the same clothes because, you know, a star, darling, has to have multiple costume changes.
I'm kind of wearing this in all of them except for the Jeremy interview because I was running out to meet a friend afterwards for drinks. So you'll notice that that's a little costume change, but pretty much the Tags Podcast is what I stuck with. But anyways, episode 600 is out Tuesday. Stay tuned for that. Also, taking care of business here, we have a brand new bonus episode that is out now. That's right. A whole new, unique, individual Tags Podcast episode that you can only get if you join our Tags Patreon community. And it dropped today, and we've got some really good topics in there. We're giving some advice. Kodi and I are talking about therapy. We are just talking about stuff that you won't get on the regular show, but it's a brand new bonus episode out now, and you can get it when you grab a tier by going to patreon.com/tags podcast and get it, because it's kind of fun to, you know, hear stuff that other people aren't going to be hearing. So bonus episode out now, patreon.com/tags podcast. And yes, we are in front of a virtual audience, and we're excited about that. Thank you for the congratulations prize, and we see some of you trickling in. So I also want to thank you to all my current OnlyFans Just for Fans subscribers. I see you. I promise new content. I'm trying to do every day, Kodi, of having new content out there. It's not easy, but I'm getting some new content fresh every single day. And right now you can take advantage of my Just for Fans. It's the end of summer sale, and you can get it for $5.99 for the next up until September 22nd when we switch over to autumn or fall, and you can get it for only $5.99 by joining my Just for Fans site. It's justforfans.com/tags podcast. Get it while it's hot. Get it while it's on sale. We all love a good sale, a good end of summer sale. Baby. Yeah. And I know, well,
you almost got me convinced to do it. You my sister.
I'll give you a free pass.
Okay.
Well, we got you here, though. You have a crowdfunding for your new EP, Kodi, that's out now. What can you tell us about it? I will put the link for those watching live, but it will also be in show notes for the podcast.
Fab. Well, I've been writing, recording, but I've come up against a brick wall as far as the finances are concerned and getting it mixed and mastered. And I want to do videos as well. So this will help with all of those costs and things of that nature. And yeah, if you have it, I would really appreciate a donation. If you don't, no hard feelings. I still love you. You're a beautiful person inside and out. But, you know, if you have a couple extra coins, throw them my way. Perks will be rolled out very soon. I'm just finalizing what I want to actually put out there because there are some little spicy perks that I want to put out there. But, you know, I'm going to actually ask you offline, what do you think about this one special perk? But after we get that all settled, they'll be rolling out, and I think they're pretty fabulous.
I love it. Well, good luck on that. We listed
Thank you,
it
darling.
here, but we will list it on all until you reach your goal. We will be listing it for all of our show notes. Oh my gosh, about last night, Kodi, the debate.
Girl.
We have to just break it down a little bit. We couldn't, in my interview with Lincoln, as I'm doing interviews with all of the co-hosts for our 600 episodes, he has said one of the things he's noticed that we've changed throughout the years is, well, we're a sex podcast and we continue to talk about sex progressiveness, sex positivity, and share our own personal stories. We can't help but talk about politics because they affect our sexuality and our living. And we are more than just a sexual being, although we are. And I love that he said that in the interview because it's so true. And that's why, we deviate a little bit because politics does affect our lives and does affect how we approach our sexuality. And with that, last night's debate, oh my God, I had so much fun watching it. For starters, I had you and I had a bunch of my friends on. It was like, my friend described it like the old days of watching Dynasty back in the 80s. And I know I'm going back in time when you would get on the phone with your friend and you would talk about Alexis just did this. Dominique Devereaux just slapped Alexis.
The champagne is burned, darling.
Yeah, Blake just, blah, blah, blah. And you would be on the phone play by playing it. That's what I was doing with my sister, a lot of my good friends, you. And it was, we were just, I was having so much fun with it. But she did, I think it was a clear winner who won that debate. It was like a fight. In this corner, we have a Trump, an old timer. In this other corner, we've got the reigning queen. And there was one clear winner. I just have to say it was Kamala Harris. It just was. Do you agree?
I totally agree. Kamala did her thing last night. She was classy yet strong. She put him in his place when she had to. And actually, the moderators did a lot of that too. They did a lot of fact checking and they did things of that nature. Most of the fact checking was on him because when you tell the truth, there's no facts to check, or her version of the truth, because I'm still, I don't trust any politician at this point, but she seems to be the best candidate for the position. So I'm definitely going to be casting my vote for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, she was definitely on the offense, as I felt he was on the defense the whole time. He was angry. He was scowling. She had so many one-liners in there that she got in. But I also felt like where a lot of people are saying we didn't learn about policy with her, she actually got that in, what she wanted to accomplish. I mean, one comes to mind that I currently benefit from is the Affordable Care Act, formerly known as Obamacare. I actually benefit from that and have really good insurance. He has threatened to take it away. She wants to keep it. And that would directly affect my health care, which is really, that's a policy. That is something tangible that could change my life. So definitely, it's not all that the Dukes were up by her. She was actually giving real life things that she would actually implement. But I mean, did you notice that he never looked at her ever? And she would look at, it's like when we're doing our show here, I'm looking at your eyes. And I know sometimes we're typing in our little feed here, but in general, I'm looking at you to see your response. I hope you can see that I am looking at you. If I was just like constantly not looking at you, or we all know when someone's not paying attention and they're on their phone, I have a really big problem with that. Like, I need you to look at me. And I will often tell people, hello, look at me. And so he didn't look at her once. Was that creepy or weird?
He is a creepy. She even pointed it out that he's a little bit creepy. That nobody goes to his rallies or anything like that. He said something about. They put it in the comment that he said they were eating pets in another place. He was just saying all these outlandish things and saying about transgender alien operations while in prison. I was like very taken aback because he didn't have his ducks in a row. He had 2 talking points and he just kept repeating them over and over and over again. And it was just ridiculous to me. He's for me, he's not a viable candidate. His record has shown that he is, and by record, I did mean that as a double entendre. It has shown that he is not trustworthy as far as January 6th is concerned. Central Park 5. I'm trying not to get too political, but this is, everybody's talking about this. And then as far as, there was one more thing that I was looking up. And Roe v. Wade, he was the catalyst for that being overturned. So I can't trust him at this point. I can't put my faith in him. And she has garnered a lot of faith in me personally.
Yeah, I mean, she toyed with him at every turn, and including things like when it came to his crowd size, she joked about him, his inheritance, and transgender operations on illegal aliens in jail. They fact-checked him on all of that, and he said now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. Okay, where he got this, not true, ridiculous,
I was
and
like, what?
pulling things out of his ass. It was just, and he was a fumbling idiot throughout the whole thing. It was crazy. I mean, yeah.
Well, final word. The thing that they were worried about for Joe Biden now applies to him, because he has taken Joe Biden's place in these debates.
Exactly. Bryce says he mentioned that on the phone last night. He never looked at her disrespectful. Also, he said babies are being executed after birth because of birth control measures. And many Texans are eating the shit right out of his ass. Is another comment that Bryce made about it. But a couple things that were interesting that people didn't notice, or the gays definitely noticed, was the moderator. And I'm talking about the moderator that everybody seemed to be, David Muir, who all the gays were going crazy, calling him Zaddy-licious. His performance was amazing last night. The gays are thirsting over him, hoping that he takes his shirt off at some point, and the only person that could get him to do that would be Kamala.
That's right.
Somebody said, David Muir, you look so beautiful when you're live fact checking. He does, actually. He was good. I thought he was really good. I mean, some people are accusing ABC of being a little bit too lenient on Kamala and hard on Trump. I don't know. I thought it was, I mean, who's to say? I mean, really, but he is yummy to look at. I thought he was a really good moderator. And lastly, before we move on, we have to talk about somebody that could make a huge change, and I'm talking about Taylor Swift. She broke her silence with a full endorsement of Kamala Harris, and she went on record, which I love it, with her post. Did you read her post? It was
I saw a screenshot of it.
Yeah, it was pretty classic. I'll read it for you. She said, like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now is a great time to do your research on the issues that at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you the most. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about their proposed policies and plans for this country. Recently, I was made aware that there was that AI of me falsely endorsing Donald Trump's presidential run was posted to this site, and it really conjured up my fears around AI and the dangers of spreading misinformation. She goes on to say, I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in 2024. But what I really like about what she says is that she says, I did my research, you do yours, you vote for the candidate that you think is right. But she clearly says who she is, and she also calls her a childless cat lady as well, which is a reference to the vice president JD Vance pick, who has made a lot of comments, if you haven't heard already, if you've been living underneath a rock, about
couch fucker,
about people not having babies, and we're losing the whole idea of a family, and they're all turning into childless cat women. And that is such an insult, and especially for the most popular person in the world right now. And would you think this endorsement will make a difference? Or do you really I think what I really like about her message is that she's really encouraging people to do their research and to vote, because Well, we of course have our opinions on this platform. I want everybody in our arena to register, make sure you're registered, make sure if you're going to be out of town that you early vote. And lastly, vote is what I want. I'd
Yeah.
rather have you vote. And don't just vote for somebody that's not on the ballot. Vote for one of the candidates. Make a choice on them. Do your research. If you haven't already made up your mind, that's our messaging here. But do you think it'll matter about Taylor Swift?
Oh, yes. I could say a lot of things about her. She has a lot of sway over her fans, and millennials are the largest voting bloc right now. So, and that is primarily her base. So, her voice will make a difference in this. I'm proud that and happy that she came out and said this because things in the past couple of weeks, as far as who she's associating with, maybe led to me believing that she would not go this way. But I'm glad she did this. I'm glad that she's in it for the campaign, and she's down for the cause. And yeah, because I think she even put in there that she was voting this way for LGBTQ plus issues as well, which I think is fabulous and fantastic. So kudos to Taylor.
She said that they stand for Kamala and Tim stand for LGBTQ rights, which she does as well, which is really great. So she's an ally, and we love that. And so, all right. Well, keep letting us know what you think. We'll read some of them as we go on, but we've got to move on to Ice-T, of all people, went viral after sharing his thoughts on pronouns, called too confusing. This is what he wrote, then we'll discuss. He wrote on his Twitter account, he went viral saying, "This new pronoun thing is too confusing for me. I'm just going to keep calling everybody motherfucker or MF." I like to say motherfucker because I use that a lot.
All right.
And there was another comment he said too. I read it to you earlier. I don't think I have it here.
I think I have it here.
But
the one about
it gave a little bit more context
about masculinity. That one.
Yeah. What did he say?
He said this. Oops, I went past it. He said masculinity and femininity are two powerful things, but both are extremely powerful. He said they're two different things. Apologies, but both are extremely powerful.
So we were trying to wonder in our meeting, like, where was this coming from? Why did he feel the need to say it's too confusing? He just calls everyone motherfucker. And well, I love that because I call a lot of people motherfucker. I think it's oversimplified. Why did he have to say this in the first place? Why did he have to put it on his Twitter account? And for a lot of people now, whether you get it or not, it is a part of the vernacular today. Knowing someone's name knowing somebody's pronoun when you know it is just as important as knowing someone's name, in my opinion. And I think that while it might be confusing, why put that out there? Especially as a man, why put that out there? A straight man. It's like you don't have to get everything. It shows to me that he's old and not trying to move with the times and with how we are all evolving. And it took a lot of us LGBTQ people to get and understand polyamory and non-binary, but we talked about it, and it's about getting to know people that are within those arenas and educating yourself. You don't have to start throwing out those pronouns, but if somebody tells you their pronoun, then you know to call them they. It's that easy. So to put that out there, I think was a little bit out of date with him and showed how old he really is, and it was unnecessary. What do you think about it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that this is showing his age and his unwillingness to adapt or adopt. But first of all, I want to say that Ice-T pronouns are not new. Pronouns have been, maybe you need a second grade refresher, but I think that pronouns have been around for a long time, sir. So, but I honestly, at the end of the day, other than that, pronouns are new. I don't see a huge issue with this because, first of all, I think this is a direct response to when Cheryl Lee Ralph, who we love, came out and said that everybody, older folks, should be using the correct pronouns. So I think that maybe this is a response to that statement because she was very definitive in defending pronouns. So I think that he was just professing that he knows his limitations. He's acknowledging that he might not have the capacity to grow in this way. So he's saying the thing that he can do to be respectful of people is call everybody the same pronoun. I actually use this when I am out in the world. I call everybody they them as a catch-all. For I try and make sure that if I don't know somebody's pronouns, or hell, even if I do know their pronouns, I use the they them, and then all bases are covered. So I feel like that is kind of the similar thing. Or I call people girl. I call you girl all the time. But I think as long as it's referring back to the feminine, I'm not attributing to the patriarchy. So I'm here for that. So
There's
I don't
definitely
see
a little bit of humor in it with calling everyone motherfucker, and I like that. I mean, I call my boyfriend that sometimes. He calls me that back. We call each other, and I think it's really funny. But I don't know. I didn't put it on a platform and say from now on. It's too confusing for me. So everybody's motherfucker, and I'm not a celebrity like he is. It just seemed unnecessary. And anyways,
see. I honestly see it a little bit different. I feel like he is providing an alternate but still respectful alternative to
motherfuckers, respectful.
You use it all the time.
Well, I use it with like my boyfriend.
And me, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day, he's
With
not
the most
misgendering
important people in
anybody.
my life, I use it. But not to just
Perfect.
Joe Schmo that I'm walking by on the street, which might be wanting to be called they, them, he, him, her, or any one of those.
But he's of a different demographic and a different age group. And I think that this is his way of coping. And I think that if he called me a motherfucker,
with what?
Coping with the whole wanting to get people's pronouns correct and not being able to, or finding that he doesn't have the birth to actually, I don't know if I use that word right, but to actually adhere to people's pronouns.
I think it's a cop-out, but you heard what Kodi says. We want to hear from you. Is Ice-T, do we give him a pass on this one? Let us know in this comment section. Or do you actually think that if you don't know, just motherfucker's fine? So one person's saying it looks like Bryce, no, let's start giving the older generation a pass. Nope, we don't. Okay, well, there's one for me.
What about when you get old, girl? What about when you get old?
Like my mom, will continue to educate myself. I mean, we do pop culture on this show, so and if I don't know, I'll ask. But I'm working with Vakaya and the cruise company, and I'm going to be working with them a little bit later in the month or next month, and they actually put the pronouns on their name tags as well. So mine would say Steve, V, he, him, and it's a good way, I think, to find out who and how everybody wants to be directed at. And it's a good way because these cruises have a variety of ages within the LGBTQ plus and the allies, and it's a great way to educate people. You got to move with the times. Okay,
I agree. Okay,
let's move on to health news, because Mistr, who we've had on the show before, Mistr, headed up by Tristan, we had on the show. Mistr is where you can get HIV testing, STI testing in your home. They simply send it to you after you fill out a form online, MISTR, and then you can test for HIV. And this is really good for those people that maybe don't have a great relationship or don't want to come out to their primary care doctor or don't even want to deal with all that. You can actually get HIV tested, STI tested at home. It comes I've done it before. It comes in a really discreet package, and you send it back in after you do the blood work, and then you send it back in and you get your results, and then you can get on PrEP. Often using insurance. Sometimes if you don't even have insurance, you can get on it. Okay, well, we all know that. What is new about Mistr right now is that they are also now going to prescribe doxycycline post-exposure, Doxy Pep as it's also called, the antibiotic that reduces bacterial STIs, including things like gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, and it starts today when patients can now use Mistr's seamless telehealth platform to receive Doxy Pep. I've used Doxy Pep in the past, and it can be really helpful when you know you're going to be really sexually active in a particular period of time, and you can actually take it within 78 hours. There's a method to the madness. So you take, I think it's like 2-1-2 within 78 hours, and when you think that maybe you've had a lot of fun over a period of time, maybe Pride, maybe it was upcoming Folsom East or
Maybe it
Folsom
was
West in San
Wednesday.
Francisco, which is coming up. Or maybe it was just a Wednesday and you had a lot of fun. Either way, I think this is a really good thing that Mistr's offering this Doxy Pep. I got it through Dr. Goldstein, leading
Oh yeah.
proctologist here in New York City, who prescribed it for me over my primary care doctor. But I could have probably asked my primary care, but it was just so much easier to get it through. I was already seeing Dr. Goldstein for something else, and this just worked out. This was earlier this year. But what do you think about Mr. now getting into the Doxy Pep?
Oh, I love this. I think that this is great. I think the more exposure and the more the word gets out there on Doxy Pep and the more people that have access to it, the better off we'll all be, because syphilis is real, gonorrhea is real, chlamydia, all of that is very real. And I think that this is a good solution. And I think that as long as it's not overused, because then, we build up antibiotic uh,
Immunity.
immunity. Thank you, sir. And I think that I have been I have Doxy Pep in my possession. I got it before I went to Kansas. My doctor actually brought it up to me. He was like, "Do you want this?" And I said, "Well, why not, darling?" And I've used it before, and I think that it's fantastic. It worked for me. Hooked on phonics, just like hooked on phonics, honey.
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, let's get into the workforce and talk about some things that have been going on. And we have a couple things to talk about, both related to the airlines. As recently, a Virgin Australia employee was fired. Two things about this. I can actually probably just, without even reading it, because we were talking about it in our meeting. A Virgin Australia employee was recently, you can't drink within several hours before you get on a plane and you're a flight attendant.
I can't
And
work there.
so he already had one strike against him where his words, he had a glass of wine within that period that you're not supposed to drink. He went and took the test and they didn't allow him to get on the plane. So that was one fraction. I think you're allowed one or two. Then he was going to do another flight. This is like another time period. But of course, that was already on his record. He was feeling tired. He didn't want to do the morning shift, but he switched with another colleague and switched to do the afternoon shift. You're working with me, right? You got it, following?
I
Yeah.
got you. I'm with you. I'm
The story's
following you.
too long to read this whole thing, but I understood
Yeah.
what was going on. So let's see
You're
if I
you're
can
providing the
retention.
synopsis very well. I
Okay.
A plus. There's just
Okay.
one
So
thing I'm looking up.
same flight attendant, didn't want to do the morning shift, wasn't feeling so great, asked to do the afternoon shift, switched with a colleague. The colleague said yes. Well, Virgin Australia were already alerted by him and his behavior, and decided to also look at the CCTV on the hotel that they put him up in, and found out that at 5:30 in the morning of the day that he was supposed to have the morning flight, that he had took off in the morning but switched, he had had a Grindr hookup. Now, I don't know that they knew it was a Grindr hookup, but they knew a gentleman, had come to visit this employee at his hotel room, and they put two and two together that he was having fun, which you're allowed to have. Well, they
Hey,
didn't like that, and they decided to call him out on the CCTV footage and fire him. But this case has gone through court system after court system as the employee has fought it, and he's been successful in all his run-ins. And in fact, it goes against employee law. That, what the fuck? I mean, seriously, they're now watching you, Big Brother you, when I guess essentially, Kodi, you are on company time when they're putting you up in a hotel, but you are also on your free time. In other words, you're not technically on the clock. They are paying for the hotel. But what did you think about this? And how far are these companies going if they're going to watch footage of you and of taking somebody in? I mean, for me, it might be like Five Guys at one point, not
Oh,
now,
you
but
would
at one
invite a long
point.
time ago.
Yeah, not now.
Oh
I
man.
want to put that
Yeah,
out
no,
there.
this is ridiculous. This is not okay. I feel like it's almost on the very verge of like them feeling like uh uh, they own you basically. I was trying to stay away from saying that, but it's almost like they feel like they have complete control over your time, your free time, the time that you're working. This man got the shift covered because he was dealing with a medical emergency on the flight. Maybe he needed to relax. And sex always relaxes me. And I think that this is a clear case of discrimination, because if a straight male pilot, would have done the same thing, then I feel like nothing would have come of it. I feel like because he's gay, I feel like they do this to women a lot too.
Yeah.
And I feel like and flight attendants are not held in the esteem with the respect that they deserve, I feel like, because I used to work in an airline myself, and I can tell you the way that they treat the pilots. Yeah, I used to work for US Airways, which is now
That's
defunct.
right.
Yeah, but the pilots are the tip top. Whatever they say goes. You have to kind of bend to their will. So I think that flight attendants deserve as much respect or more because they give you free liquor.
There you go. We want them to be rested because they are essentially taking care of us on these long flights. And I'd rather him get pounded and getting taken care of, but then
I
he's
volunteer.
rested.
I
I do
help them.
not want you looking tired, even if you are just the flight attendant. But if you're the pilot, for sure, do not be, get your rest. There's a Denzel Washington movie. Did you ever see that one where he's a pilot and he's addicted to like
Oh,
cocaine?
was it
And
Flight? It's called Flight. Yeah.
yeah, it's really
I love
good, but we
Denzel.
didn't want that pilot on my flight. No, thank you, ma'am.
Oh
Or
no.
they. No, no, thank you, they. But I don't know. I'm scared
You
about
better get it
using any
right,
of these.
Ice-T. Come on now.
Let's stay in the
Oh
workplace,
man.
though. Let's stay in the workplace on do's and don'ts in the dating workplace, because somebody wrote an article on Fuse magazine and it really caught my attention. Maxwell Alif wrote this. He said, "Are you crushing on a coworker? Do you go for it or walk away?" Well, he doesn't claim to be an expert on workplace romance, but he's had a lot of experience with it. And he came up with his do's and don'ts of, if you are going to go there with somebody in the workplace, how to do it correctly, what to do and what to not to do. Here's some of his do's. Do keep it on the down low. So in other words, the fewer the people know about it, the better, at least in those early stages. There's nothing worse for your budding romance than becoming the hot gossip on everyone's lips. I agree with that one. Do you agree with that one? Keep it on the DL?
I mean, yes, but I mean, I love to be the hot gossip on everybody's lips. They had me until that.
Oh my God. Okay. Here's a don't. Don't do it if there's a power imbalance. So, and it can be tricky, but if you're seeing your superior and it turns sour, they've got the power to gift you the most undesirable tasks. So you don't want them to do that. They could also probably fire you. And I don't know. I
That's
agree. That's a
illegal.
don't, right? Keep
Yeah,
it on
but
a
definitely a
more
no.
equal level if you can. Do lean on each other for support. So you're being blessed to be with someone that understands the pressure you face, because they face them too. You work the same hours, tackle the same problems. Don't cling on the expiry date. So real talk, most relationships are destined to fail. If it reaches an end point, let it end. The sooner you each move on, the less suffering. Do set clear boundaries, which I think is a really good one. Don't
Yes, I agree
badmouth
with
the
that one.
other party when you're at odds, and do find shared interests and hobbies outside of the work. These are all good do's and don'ts if you have to go there. I can only think of one time when I was an intern back in the day. I wasn't even really an intern. It was just a job I got during college. It was called Design and Type in San Francisco, and they did billboards. They did all kinds of design and type, essentially. And I just got this job. A friend of mine got me the job, and I had a crush on one of the guys that worked there. Well, we started dating because he had a crush on me too. And
Aw.
we actually became boyfriends for a year. I think he was my first boyfriend ever. Tells you how
Oh,
long it
wow.
was, in the early 90s. It ultimately ended, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. I decided I needed to experience life. I was still in my 20s. He got it. We moved on. I don't think I was working there anymore, so it wasn't like crushing, but it wasn't the worst case thing. But I'll never forget peering over at him peering over at me at the copy machine and
Gazing
thinking,
longingly.
is he peering over at me? And turns out he was, and asked me out. And so, I mean, it was actually, as office romances go, we were definitely not on equal playing fields. I was a low level, paid by the hour, after school job, and he was an actual account executive. But it
Oh
worked
my
out for
goodness.
us. So, have you ever worked with somebody, and how did it work out? Have you
Let me
ever
just
worked with
take this.
somebody that you dated?
Let me just I need a little juice for this story. I have worked with somebody that I dated. My ex, we worked together in a restaurant at I was actually the supervisor and he was
Oh,
a waiter there, and I was his superior, his boss
Mother
basically.
Superior.
And it was an experience. The dynamics of, especially his personality versus my personality, and us being in that situation, it was trying for sure. So if you do not have to work with your partner or the person that you're dating, then don't. I feel like if we were in a different setting, and I feel like it would be a little bit different, but in a restaurant setting where it's high stress and there's always something coming at you, I feel like it was a recipe for disaster, and kind of ultimately what kind of tore us apart because of one of the things. But
I was
uh,
gonna say,
what?
let's not blame it on that.
Calm down, baby. Calm down. Don't be spilling all my beans on this podcast, okay?
But I agree with you. I think in general, I mean, there's so many other fish in the sea, if you will, to meet, that if you are both under a hierarchy, I don't think it's really a good idea. Now, if you guys
Well,
start a business together or you're working together, still kind of on treacherous
that's touching. Yeah.
ground, but at least you might be working together, and maybe one of you is good at one thing and the other one's good at something else, and you can kind of come together and bring your forces together. But I don't know.
A collaboration. I feel like that is where a good partnership should lie, as far as two people maybe on opposite ends of the spectrum coming together to forge something amazing. So I think that is the route I should probably take next time,
Yeah, because
because
there's too many rules too when you work under, like, the last story. I mean, especially the airlines. My goodness, it's like you can't drink at certain times. There's so many protocols, and you're getting tested, and I don't know. It's just not a good thing. And if you're both working underneath an office structure with a boss, and you might want to have some fun in the bathroom, I think you don't want to get caught. I just think it
I
would be a really
wish
bad situation. So,
maybe next time I work with whoever I'm dating.
yeah, we didn't do that at the time. We were very respectful. I would just come in,
Yeah,
I would say
that we're
hi,
very.
and then we would go out afterwards. And
Maybe some making
yeah,
out and butt touching, which I think is fun.
maybe a pat on the butt, but I
No,
think
no,
that's
no.
as
Full on
far as it
rubbing.
should go.
I am completely inappropriate. So
Oh
yeah,
my God.
butt rubbing.
Okay. Well, let's move on from dating in the workplace to marriage. And, we all know Rupert Everett from My Best Friend's Wedding, Madonna's former best friend at one point, not anymore, but he recently married, he's 65 now, which can you believe? He recently married his longtime partner and says that he wasn't a fan of marriage. He didn't even want to get married. He told the Tatler that this secret low-key wedding took place in the Camden Town Hall and was followed by a lunch at the actor's favorite restaurant. Quote, "I have always hated weddings, although I do love funerals." He seems like a total Brit. He said, "But when you get older, I have seen so many problems that gay couples face. So it's really more about forward thinking as we have been together for a long time now." He also said that at 6'5", he doesn't know that he'll ever see 95, meaning that tall people, according to him, often don't live as long. He has that kind of dark sensibility humor, if you will. He says the great thing about getting older is that you realize that you don't have to strain every nerve to the point of hemorrhoids to be relevant. That's pretty funny, I think, actually. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, what do you think about his idea of marriage? Like, he didn't want to get married. And in talking to Eleni Chorus of last week, she told us that it's all about a piece of paper, and it's
Yeah.
more about working on the relationship at hand. And marriage is really about finances. It can be about other things too, but I think I'm kind of with him. Like, I think if I were ever to consider marriage, I'd want something smaller, like a lunch like this, and something just really easy breezy. What's your thoughts on what he's saying? And he ultimately did get married.
Yeah, I think everybody's entitled to have their own feelings about marriage and relationships and things of that nature. Mine don't necessarily line up with you and Mr. Rupert Everett here. When I get married, oh, honey, you better be ready to get dressed up and dolled up and come to a very opulent place and have a fantastic dinner. So I'm just warning you right now. Just get your
Will
coins
it be in
together
the
for my
church?
my
Because one of the
wedding.
things he said is the church has never accepted us. So why do these
Yeah,
queens all want to get married in the church? And that part, I
I will not get
100%
married.
agree with it.
Right. I totally agree with that. I will not have it in church. I was just thinking maybe a beach wedding. I love the beach, but I have to ask my partner as well, who is non-existent at this moment. So one day maybe, but as of right now, you could slowly save up because it's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I can tell your mind is probably saying, rolling his eyes right now because he works in weddings and he's probably like, the last thing he wants to do is deal
Who
with
do you think I'm
that.
going to get to help me? Hello,
Well,
hi
he'll do
boo.
your wedding gladly.
Fabulous. And then we can have a double wedding, me and you
Oh,
and
yeah,
our
no,
partners.
no.
Why not?
Oh my God.
You won't have to do
No,
any
no.
planning.
Oh my
I like it
goodness.
better
So
that way.
let us know what you think about that. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we've got to, we want to shout out to somebody, do you watch Drag Race España, Cody? Because
I
Guillermo Flores was introduced as a pit crew member during the first season of Drag Race España. And even though he was surrounded by other Spanish heartthrobs, he's really hot, by the way. He actually is coming back on the show not as a pit crew member, but as a drag queen contestant. He's coming back for the season 4 of Drag Race España, but as a little drag queen competing on the show. And just like that, Guillermo becomes the first ever pit crew member to subsequently compete on Drag Race as a drag performer. He looks stunning either way you want to take him. What did you think about this? He's a dancer, singer. Um, he does all the above.
I love this. And I have watched Drag Race España, and I was weaning away from doing the international franchises because it's just a lot. There's so much RuPaul out there. And I live, of course, and I'm happy that Mama Ru is getting her coins, but it's a lot to keep up with. So I have weaned myself from all of the franchises. I just do the Americas, UK, and Canada. That's still a lot.
Well,
But
Guillermo, go ahead.
this makes me want to get back into España because he is super cute. He looks super talented, and he's got a baby. He's married and he has a child. I just am rooting for him now, so I have to start watching.
Guillermo goes by McGee Yellow and describes himself as this dancer, singer, actress, and the queen lip syncs on the dance floor. When the music starts, everyone trembles. She is ready to become the next Spanish drag superstar because she is a complete performer from feet to tits. I love it. I mean, the
Love it.
premiere of season 4 premieres September 22nd on Well Presents Plus. And I don't know. I don't watch any of them other than the main one that comes out on in America, but this one might get my interest going. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Well, you're logged in to my Wow Presents Plus, so
Oh, that's right. Okay.
yeah.
I'm tuning in then. Okay. Let's give some advice. And I think it was the first one that you liked more. PDA, correct?
Yes, that one.
Yes.
Yes.
On a recent Reddit thread, guys that don't like PDA in relationships, help me understand how you feel. As the title suggests, I'm trying to see different perspectives on what people think regarding PDA. I recently had a talk with my partner in which he shared with me that PDA makes me uncomfortable. I'm trying to understand how he can be the most loving and affectionate partner I've ever had behind closed doors, but the moment we walk out the door, it turns off like a switch. When I leave after a weekend together, he gives me a warm goodbye, but if his roommate is around, it turns into an awkward side hug. Ugh. I
Oh my
can't help but
goodness.
feel like this is rooted in shame and our fear of what people might think. Any advice before I talk to him again would be greatly appreciated. This is an interesting one because I think when you get together with somebody, you have to kind of find out how they deal with PDA. And I don't think it's always rooted in shame necessarily. Like, I don't know about the roommate in the apartment. That's a little bit weird, but not everybody is comfortable being all over each other. I think sometimes, sadly, we still have to be mindful of where we're at in the world for safety reasons still. And I hate to even be saying that, but I'm just being real about it. And not everyone is comfortable with that sometimes. I'm okay with PDA. I share it with my boyfriend, like in the car when we're driving somewhere. We might at a rest stop because if we're driving somewhere, he'll put his arm around me or give me a kiss. I might do the same too. It's very quick, but we share it in our own way, and I'm fine with it. I don't mind it. I don't think either one of us wants to be hanging all over each other, and I don't think anybody feels comfortable with excessive PDA. Do you?
The guilty as charged, darling. I am a PDA a lover. I think that it is amazing. I love to be in
It's not very
connection with
demure of
my.
you.
I think it is. I think it's the most demure thing you can ever do, darling. It's very mindful. It's very cutesy. It's definitely very cutesy. I think that the PDA, when done appropriately, because I do have my levels of where I will not go. I feel like doing things that are just raunchy or out of bounds, definitely. But I love a good kiss, and I've had to force myself to be more comfortable with kissing and holding hands in public because I had a lot of shame around PDA and not necessarily feeling like the most like it's accepted in my direct vicinity. So I think that the more I can see how the boyfriend would think that this is rooted in shame, and it does sound to me like that because first of all, he's affectionate in the home when it's just the two of them. So him not being affectionate in outside of the home says that there's something outside of the home that's making him uncomfortable, and it's even backed up by the fact that the roommate being around will trigger this uncomfortability. So I really think that he has some work to do,
That's a little
and
weird, the roommate thing. If you're
the
just
roommate,
assuming the roommate knows everything about it, is probably gay themselves. And if you're just
or at
giving
least
a
an ally.
kiss goodbye, what does that shouldn't matter at all.
That's a red flag for me as far as him having a little bit of shame around PDA. I think that he should definitely talk to somebody about it because it's something that you could overcome. I've definitely done it before, especially once you recognize that this is something that's an issue for you. So I really feel like they can work it out, and I feel like, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I've noticed in my own self, that is something that is surmountable, because once you start noticing it, you want to combat, for me especially, uh, that feeling of uncomfortability, because our public displays of affection are as equal and as just as straight people's.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like it is advice to be given on my end would be this is something that you need to talk to them, not right when you experience them pushing you away or giving you the side hug, but at a
Not
different
to push
time,
away.
bring it. Yeah, not the push away, but do it at a different time, I think could be really constructive and tell them that this is important to you, how you express yourselves. You don't want to be known as the friend, the quote unquote friend. You want to, and you also maybe don't need your to put it on a billboard in Times Square, but there's a far cry in between there that you could show love and affection for each other when you're out and about. And I think that expressing that to your partner will make them aware of it, to share, to tell them this is important to me. On We're not always living underneath a box in our bedroom, and life for us, I want to show it a little bit more outside of that too. And like I said, it doesn't have to be on a billboard in Times Square either. So there's,
Yeah.
yeah,
I agree with you. I think that as far as PDA goes, everybody has their own level of comfortability. I was speaking on my level of comfortability, and I feel like it's important for us to respect every version of this. If he was a little bit more reserved and behind closed doors, I could see how it would be not an issue. But I think that because of the PDA behind closed doors and the roommate thing, really just sparked my concern.
yeah, exactly. Let us know how you weigh in on that. And lastly, we're giving time for a segment we haven't done in a few weeks, but we're going back to it. It's produced by Straight Up Gay Porn, and it's asking the question of Thirst Trap. Which one of these 16 gay porn stars took the best photo of the week? And the last winner was Alex Rosso. He's now a finalist in the upcoming Thirst Trap King. And in that picture, I'll describe it because our job is to vividly describe on an audio podcast when this show gets repackaged why we picked that. I can tell you the reason Alex Rosso probably won is his legs are spread open. He's showing his hole. He has a huge cock, and there is a thick cum load all over the tip of his cock. If you agree with me, yes, Kodi?
Oh, yes.
It's
I think he was
pretty
my pick when this came
okay.
out. Yeah.
I have to say this
It's
week's was
damn.
really good. There are some really good ones. I already voted earlier, but I have to say Edward Jaff M97, who's the
Oh my
first
God.
person, is not who I picked, but I did a deep dive
Oh,
on him. He's got his
he's who
legs
I
spread
picked.
open. He's grabbing his cock, and it's huge. But I did a deep dive in his Twitter account, and he's taking some really nice dildos. If you like that kind of content, check Edward Jaff M97 out because it's really worth it. But Declan Strong ultimately was my pick. Why did I pick him? Well, I love his tattoos on his arm. He's kind of thick right now, but in a muscly thickness, and it's kind of the direction I'm going with my body right now. So I kind of related to, I wish I looked like this, but he is maybe my aspiration. His dick looks juicy. He looks like he's outside on maybe about to barbecue, and he's just looking into the camera, but it's something about the way he's looking down at the camera and the way the lighting is hitting his rock hard abs. He gets my vote. Did you see him, Declan Strong?
I'm looking through his Twitter right now. Yeah, he's super hot. Yeah.
But there were some
I,
other good ones. Benjamin Bratt was really sexy. I'll post this on tagspodcast.com for sure, so you can vote yourself. We ask you to vote to keep this segment going on. And my other favorite was Gabriel Corimbra, who has his sexy feet in the air, 1 foot in the air, and he's got kind of a gooning face on his that he's and Playboy J is my other sexy one with really hot tattoos. So those are the votes. Who did you vote for and why?
I like Edward Jamf. I think that he's super sexy. He, just like you said, he's got his legs up in the air, and he's super cute. I went to his Twitter and I saw him taking those dildos, and he's in Spain, and it makes me want to book a trip to Spain. He's completely butt naked on a couch. He's got one leg in the air, like he just don't care. The other one in his armpit, and he's still looking at the camera, which I haven't figured out how we did this just yet. So he must be very talented. So yeah, he's my favorite this week.
I love it. Bryce said Edward Jaff M97 as well. For me, many others are second place pick though. Yeah, this was a good week, right? Of
Good week.
sometimes they
I
don't
thought I was
always.
Horny,
Yeah, I know. It was
but it is
really
a good week. I'm glad you agree.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, we are at the end of our show. This is so much fun. You can always follow my co-host, Kodi. He's a life coach. Follow him at KMD Coaching or his personal account on Instagram at Mr. Maurice. Mr. Maurice. And once again, can you give your Indiegogo link and I'll put it in there?
Yep. It is Indiegogo. Kodi Maurice EP is the. Yep.
Well, we'll list it in show notes. I just put it there, and you can. Kodi is trying to get funding for his EP to get it mixed and mastered, and we support him. So support him on that. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V, or go to my Twitter account at Tags Podcast, where you get a preview of my Just for Fans or my OnlyFans. And right now, my Just for Fans is on sale as an end of summer type of sale going on till September 22nd. You can get it for $5.99. Go to justforfans /tags podcast. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay
gay
sex.
Lovely.
Thank you, everybody.